Greetings and welcome to Universal Crest. This guy is still trying to find words to wipe his droppings. Black people should stop using the race card where it's not applicable. Let's go after the real enemy. Stop going after people out of jealousy and envy, and use racism whenever you feel like it. One topic went from your normal stupid ESPN question to how the hell did we get here? Take a look at this before we get into it.
Caitlin Clark and everything that everybody is saying is fine, and you're looking at Angel Reese and what Angel Reese has said, and Angel Reese is absolutely right. I love Angel Reese. I'm a fan. And I think she's going to be a damn good player. She's going to produce for a long time in the WNBA. She was a national champion. She deserves all the props and all the credit in the world. But let's keep in mind, it wasn't her game that was getting all the notoriety, despite the fact that she was a pretty damn good player. It was the fact that she was waving in Caitlin Clark's face. Because Caitlin Clark had been doing that to the competition before she ran into LSU. In that NCAA tournament, and LSU took them out. And so what happens is she was throwing it right back in her face, and you had people saying, oh my God, how could she do such a thing? How could she do such a thing? And they didn't say the same thing about Caitlin Clark, which is why I'm gonna go where I'm going, okay? Let me see everybody up on the screen when I say this, please. Caitlin Clark is white. And because she's white, and because she's considered box office and she's a star who happens to be white, that is why Eminem, when I brought up words like envy or jealous or resentment, whatever words you wanted to pick, I didn't say it in a negative fashion like, oh my God, it's a problem. I used the word justify. You know why? Because black people throughout this country for years have felt that level of ire, because we know we've got to be twice as good to get half as much. We know we've got to extend ourselves. We know we've got to put ourselves on Front Street to have a shot at getting half. Pick a profession. Pick a name. Ask yourself, pick the biggest star. Pick the biggest star in podcasts. Pick the biggest star in television. Pick the biggest star in sports, whatever. That's black. And ask yourself the question that we all ask. If they were white, what would they be? How much money would we get paid if we were white? How much success would we reap if we were white? How much endorsements would we get? How receptive would America be to us? Because it's still 60% of the population. And even in the year 2024, when the white populace in this country is dipped from 90 to 85 to 80 to 70 to now 60% and dipping, okay? Even now, you have a situation where you get somebody who happens to be white and they're a star and they deserve the acclaim. They receive something we know we wouldn't receive on that level. Why do you think I say on national television, when white folks catch a cold, black folks catch pneumonia? Because it's always worse for us.
So I wasn't surprised when I saw this, because before this, First Take was talking about a foul on Clark, topic that was all over the internet at the time, and he went on about how the other players were jealous of Clark, how much they hated her, and America's so-called woke celebrities had to scold him for picking a white girl over the black sisters. It made him look like a sellout.
People are going to continuously watch if they allow cheap shots to continuously happen on Caitlin Clark.
When he came out with this, I really wasn't surprised, pulling stats like they speak for all black people. Racism is a serious thing, and racism in sports is a serious thing. For you to use it at your convenience to suit you or your image, that's irresponsible. You want to talk racism, tell the part where that same white power structure uses people like Stephen A. to carry their agendas through. If we are going to speak about racism in sports, try the English Premier League, biggest football league in the world. Only the World Cup is bigger than them. You won't imagine how much blatant racism black players are subjected to out there on a weekly basis. The racial chants from the fans that echoes the whole stadium, racial slurs from the players, coaches, and even your own teammates. They don't care if you're from Africa, Europe, or native. Look at the La Liga, the most disgusting thing you'll ever see on TV. Look at how underpaid African players playing abroad are, how value markets are manipulated to force African associations to sell their best assets to the European clubs close to nothing. South Africa is something I won't even get into right now. Racism in sports is a bitch, but don't use it where it's not applicable. ESPN First Take has historically targeted black players they had personal vendettas against, used their platform to discredit and tarnish their reputation and image professionally. They've done it so many times you end up laughing just watching it. It's comedic, parody-like.
Even people that think you respect or like going on TV, and just feeding into the narrative. I'll tell you one person. I haven't talked to him much since. Stephen A. Smith really pissed me off. Stephen A., anytime I meet someone and they say something about you, it's never like, yo, I like him, he cool. It's always like, man, that dude, his character, he's this, he's that.
I laugh because I am watching the same game they are watching, so I know 80% of what they say about players is bull. It stops being funny though when people start to believe them.
The situation involving Caitlin Clark, I believe, is unfortunate for her because she has been relatively modest and quiet since entering the WNBA. I think the problem is that the white power structure and the WNBA has an agenda to make Caitlin Clark the athletic face of the league. Now, they can make her the marketing face of the league, but it's going to be difficult to make her the athletic face of the league because she is not to the WNBA what LeBron James was to the NBA. She's not a Luka Doncic or Nikola Jokic. She's not a Larry Bird, if you will. And so the problem, as I see it, is the WNBA wants to pass off responsibility for Caitlin Clark not being the instant athletic phenom they want her to be. They want to pass off that responsibility onto the black women of the WNBA, and it appears that they're trying to push a narrative that says Caitlin Clark isn't able to maximize her talents on the court because she's being bullied by these much larger black women. And that simply isn't true. Basketball is a competitive sport. You play to compete. That is the nature of athletics. So shaming and blaming black women for competing against Caitlin Clark when you all took it upon yourselves to exaggerate her skill set simply isn't fair.
When something is constantly perpetuated, it eventually becomes a thing to people with less information. The young lady they are talking about is Caitlin Clark, a 22-year-old American basketball player from Iowa in the United States for all those who don't know her. She's this season's #1 overall draft pick in the WNBA. She comes as the NCCA Division I all-time leading scorer and the first women's player to lead Division I, both in points and assists in a single season. And this is just two of the countless records she broke in the last 18 months or so of me following her. I left a link to an article that lists all her records and stats in the description if you want to see just how mind-boggling her college career was, just staggering. She could have went to any prestigious college in the country and win championships, but instead chose to stay in her hometown nobody thought much of and made it the most talked about. She took a so-called weak team and made them true contenders. She took them to the finals not once, but twice. So now what is her skin color got to do with her breaking all those records? What's that got to do with her putting up those kind of numbers? She's just started her WNBA career, and she's already breaking records for a rookie. All this is what got her the lucrative deals, the media attention, global following, and everything else everybody seemed to be envious of. Let me say this, basketball became popular almost overnight in South Africa back in the 90s, I remember that. Before then, the only name I've always known was Magic Johnson, and the only player I knew was playing basketball at that time was Denise Rodman. Overnight, I learned quick about Jordan, Dr. J, found out quick about Larry, Isaiah Thomas, Shaq, and all the other great players. I knew of these players, but for me, I started following the NBA immediately after I first heard of Kobe. Even knowing of these other players I've just mentioned, I still didn't follow the NBA until Kobe got drafted. I'm only talking about myself, but I'm sure it's the same way people felt when Larry and Magic came through, the same when Jordan and King James came through. These are once-in-a-lifetime generational talents you probably won't ever see again. Sure, good players came before them and many will after. What remains is the fact that they did it the best, better than any other player that's ever laid a finger on it. What all these players have in common, they all have stats and numbers to back their status, so if you want what they have, do better. Come with better stats and numbers, if not, shut up. Jealousy and envy makes people look and sound stupid, I mean real stupid. What Caitlin Clark has done and continuing doing is what everybody aspires to be the best in what you do, be the pride and pillar of your community, putting your city on the map and on your back, and doing that in the same city you were born and lived your entire life. I mean, what's better than that? Jealousy and envy is what comes with it, heavy is the head that wears the crown, understandable, but to see it play out like it does is shameful. These WNBA women are being petty, their blatant displays of jealousy is disgusting to watch. One thing I won't be surprised seeing, judging from the WNBA's incompetence running a growing market, is more men taking more and more roles in the organization, until only dummy posts are left for a few women, because one thing I know about men, nothing comes between them and their money. A lot has been invested and a lot is at stake. This is not a good look for the organization and women as a whole. First Take is the biggest voice at ESPN. Is it because she's white that First Take is giving her so much attention? If you think other players deserved it more, why don't I hear you mention any of them? It should be your obligation to put them out there and do it as constantly as you do with Clark, and let the people decide.
Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A., respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
Nobody is talking about the other ladies simply because they are not doing what Clark is doing. Till these ladies put up those stats and numbers, they should all shut